All right. Hey, here we are. It's September. It's so nice to see you all. We've got 46 people here. That's a goodly number considering that we don't really have a speaker this month. So happy to have you all. Happy to see you. I don't know if anybody's other than Scotts Flat is dealing with a power shutoff, but if they are, we are recording this to YouTube and I'll be sending out the link after. Last month, 33 members watched on YouTube, so it's being utilized, and that's a good number, so we're good. Wanted to let you know that the board had a very brief discussion about the COVID rules that are changing. I know that we are in the orange right now, and I did have a conversation with Unity and the Gold Church. They're still not having their services. And the board decided that we are going to wait until January to revisit this whole idea, maybe of meeting in person, but until then, we're going to continue on with the Zoom meetings. Just want you to know that we are, that is something that we're definitely aware of and on top of. Gold Country on Camera Photo Challenge. It's going to be on the walls of the Nevada City Picture and Framing Gallery on October 8th. We're supposed to be part of Open Studios, and we kind of are, but they dropped the ball and they left us off of their program. And so therefore off of their map. And we got a lot of apologies, but it doesn't change the fact that we're not, sorry, I'm just distracted by some, you're all hearing me, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry. Anyway, we're on their website. We're advertising in the media and on Facebook. So please share with your friends that we will be at the Frame Shop in person wearing masks on Saturday and Sunday, October 10th and 11th from 10 to 5 p.m. And judging is going to happen on Friday the 9th, and big, beautiful ribbons will be hanging on the award photos for the weekend. So come on by, come visit us. Wear your mask. We'll be very safe. Okay, announcements. I'm going to ask for announcements in a minute, but we have a number of announcements that we need from people. Is Dave Arstein here? I didn't think so. He's working the census, so he wasn't sure he was going to make it. But what he wanted to share with you and what I want to share with you is that the website is going to be down starting either after the meeting tonight or tomorrow for a few days while he migrates our site to another provider. So hold off on your voting and submitting for a few days. And that way he can get it all going. It's going to be offline. Don't be scared if you can't connect. David Wong, you're up.
Oh, so nominations. We have a full slate. If you weren't here last meeting, we have running for president is Rachel Rosenthal. Running for vice president is Kathy Triolo. Mike has agreed that he will run again for treasurer, and Dave Connell is running for secretary. And unless, we haven't been able to twist any other arms. So that's the slate that we will vote on at the next
October.
meeting.
Right.
So if you decide you want to raise your hand for anything, let me know, and we'll stick you on the slate.
Now people can nominate themselves, right?
Yes.
So.
And David, how about too, just for folks who might be interested, it's a 1-year term and you can only serve the 2 years total. There's a term limit.
Yeah, in the
Yes.
same position.
In the same position.
Of course, you can always serve 2 years, take a break for a year, and then come back and try to do it again if you want.
Yes, David, you could do that.
One could.
All right, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for David about the slate? Jimmy, can't hear you.
What about board members?
So the board members are made up of the president, the past president, the vice president, the treasurer, and the secretary. And then there's an executive, an executive board that's made up of the membership chair, the website person, and those serve at the pleasure of the president. So those positions generally, well, first of all, they're not voted on, and there's no term limits for them. But if you're interested in a non-executive position, let us know. We're happy to have you come on. Just tell us you're interested.
I guess I was under the impression there were at-large board members.
There are people who are welcome to sit on the board. They're not voting members necessarily, but anybody can come and be part of the board observing them. So, hold on one sec.
Board doesn't have at-large members.
I'm sorry, what?
This particular board doesn't have, quote, at-large
Right.
members.
It's not in the bylaws. So Jimmy, if you want the exact bylaws, go to our website and we can't hear you.
I was just curious. Thank you, Kathy. You answered my question.
Super. All right, good. Any other questions about the slate or nominating yourself or?
Just for clarification, did David say we're voting in October or November?
No,
October.
October.
October. Okay.
Okay, good. Thank you, David. Thanks for
Well-
volunteering. Douglas Hooper.
Hi, everybody. We're putting together our annual workshop it will be held on Saturday, November 7th. It will be a Zoom meeting. We didn't feel like we were quite ready for in-person. We're putting together some really exciting classes. Rick is getting a great head start. I'm working on one he's already titled. It's called Planning Epic Milky Way Images with Photo Pills. We're trying to be responsive to the survey from last year and really cover the topics that people asked for in that survey. Rachel's going to be teaching Lightroom, and I'm going to be giving a brief talk on seeing great photos. And we are working a lot of other speakers. So it's going to be a good program. Put November 7th on your calendar.
Okay.
What
Any
time?
questions?
What time?
It's going to be approximately 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay.
And it's free?
Free to members.
Yes. Any other questions for Douglas? Nope. Okay, good. Hope to see a lot of you there. All right, Mark, you want to talk about new members?
Yep. Hi, everybody. We've got 3 new members this month. We have Diane and Kent Kelligrew, who have recently joined us. And in fact, I think they are on tonight.
Yes, they are.
Diane and Kent, can you just briefly introduce yourselves and tell us what you're doing photographically?
Well, I'll speak for myself. I used to be very involved when I was in college, but now I feel like it's a whole new world and I'm a newbie, and we are very excited about getting into it. We just moved to the town a couple of months ago. We thank our wonderful neighbor, Rick, for introducing us to the Camera Club.
And we thank him for helping us find a camera, which
Which,
we arrive on Friday.
which will arrive on Friday, our cameras. So we've upgraded. So thanks
That
to
was
Mark
quick.
for his orientation class too. Mhm.
Yeah, you're welcome. We had just for everybody to know, we had a really good orientation session a couple weeks ago. And then as a follow-on, we did a camera buying guide and post-processing software buying guide last week for about an hour and a half. And those were well attended, and hopefully they made it a little bit easier for everybody to kind of do their picking and choosing. The other new member we have for this month is Deborah Davis, and I don't think Deborah is here. Deborah, are you with us tonight?
I don't think so. I don't see her on the list.
I didn't see her earlier.
Yeah.
So we'll catch Deborah another meeting down the road. So I think we're up to something like 150 some members at this point. So we're almost back to where we were last year, which is pretty incredible given that we haven't been meeting live. So kudos to everybody for keeping the club really on a nice even keel during this time. So back to you, Kath.
Thanks. Bill, you want to talk a little bit about the field trip and the cancellation and any extra information you have for us?
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, we had to cancel it as a club event just because of the national parks or forest campgrounds are still closed as of today, I checked, and the smoke and everything. I'm still planning on going down for a few days, and I think a few other members are as well. The skies are clearer up in the higher elevation, but down in Bishop and Mammoth area, I guess it's still quite smoky down there. So, but from the photos I've seen, it's pretty clear up there at the higher elevations. But you know, we all know that can change any day or whatever. So I'm not holding my breath on whether I make it down there or not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be working on a list coming up for potential field trips for next year. Maybe I'm thinking about maybe possibly this December, doing the Sandhill Cranes down in Consumnes or something. I have to, maybe we'll do that. I don't know. We'll see. This hasn't been a good year for field trips. So, you know, well, for other things as well. But anyways, and also if some members or anything has any ideas or something that they would like to host, you know, feel free to send me an email and, you know, we can get it on the list and run it by the board and all that good stuff.
Thank you.
You know, that's it.
All right. Thank you very much, Bill. All right. So Rachel, I'm going to throw it over to you. You're a co-host now.
Okay.
And I'm going to allow you to share. And
You want to, Kathy?
yes.
You want to make you have announcements we can tell about?
Oh, yeah. Let's do that right now. Other announcements. Go right ahead. Sorry, Rachel, jumped the gun.
That's okay.
Dave has something.
Dave, which Dave? McClellan?
Dave McClellan.
McClellan, yeah.
Uh-huh. Dave, take it.
Yeah, hi. Just wanted to photo challenge thing that we're doing on October 8th, or was it 10th and 11th? On Saturday at 3 o'clock, we will, instead of having a gala reception where everybody could get together and visit, we're going to have a Zoom meeting, and we'll go through each of the entries. And the photographer will have a chance to discuss. If you're part of it, you've gotten mail from Kathy to contact her and make an appointment to have yourself interviewed and talk a little bit about your picture. And we'll, during the Zoom meeting, we'll go through each of the photographs or artwork, and we'll talk about them. And so please, at 3 o'clock, Saturday, the 10th, you'll get an invitation for this, and you're welcome, and all of your friends and family are welcome to watch as well. And we'll have a gala reception online.
Thank you, Dave.
So Dave has a question. So there, during that meeting, then you guys will be playing the pre-recorded interviews, or are they live on the 10th?
They will be pre-recorded. Kathy has sent an email to each of the participants.
Okay.
To schedule an interview with her, and that'll be recorded via Zoom.
Okay.
Okay. Get those back.
Yeah, just I haven't heard from a few people. A lot of people are getting back to me now after yesterday's email, but yeah, make sure that you click on that doodle poll link and pick a date and time for that interview, so I can get them. If you wait till the last minute, I'm not sure how well I'm gonna do, but get them in now. Okay. Any other announcements?
Yeah, Kathy, I'm selling a Nikon 35mm 1.4 full frame lens. So if anybody's interested, please contact me.
Mike, did you want to send something to the chat group and so that it's written down?
I'll try to get that together.
You know, if not, just send it to me and I can send it in. That's okay. No problem.
Okay, well, this is a great lens. I mean, it's in perfect condition and it's just a beautiful lens.
Wonderful. Hope it finds a good home.
Could Mike repeat that, what that lens is?
It's a Nikon 35 millimeter f1.4.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So I have a couple of announcements.
Okay.
If you're not doing anything for Open Studios, I'm open both weekends of Open Studios. That's the first weekend of the 10th and the second weekend of the 17th. So I'll be around before I leave. And then if I also have an exhibit at Viewpoint from November 2nd to December 5th. And it's the Art of Birds. And I'll be in the Step Up Gallery at Viewpoint, even though I won't be back for my trip until the middle of November. But you can always go down to Viewpoint. We're open Thursday through Saturday at Viewpoint. And then I'm gonna turn it over to Rachel because we just announced that we invited Rachel to do a show in January. And Rachel, if you want to talk about what you're going to feature.
Oh, sure. It's kind of a lifetime project for me, as I really love traveling, as you all know, and I really love pictures of people, really more intimate portraits of women and children and men around the world. And I've collected them for years. And so I've always hoped to be able to show them as a group. And I've just tickled that Viewpoint has asked me to do that. And the theme is We Are All One People. And it's images of people from around the world. So David's going to be my curator and help me. I've never done anything quite like this. So it's a learning experience for me on how to choose the images and then how to put them into a really tight themed group. So I'm looking forward to it. So I'm honored.
Very cool. Anybody else have announcements?
I have one more thing here.
Yeah, Bill.
I want to thank Mike Oitzman for putting on that great presentation for the Lucchese field trip and for braving the smoky Friday night. And everybody that did come out also as well, because the conditions weren't the best. But anyways, and thank you, David, for putting that together as well. So.
Yeah, thanks. I think we got some good pictures come out of that, even if it wasn't of the sky, right?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, it turned from a Milky Way to just the vineyards. So, but it was a lot of fun. Anyways, it was great seeing everybody too. So it did come out.
Well, John Stewart wouldn't agree. It's just a vineyard.
Yeah, it was a little bit more interesting than that.
I should have been hanging out with John after seeing that one photo.
So I'll just follow up. I've heard a lot of nice comments about Mike's presentation at that field trip. So yeah. Douglas, just thinking maybe for November. I don't know if it was applicable for the workshop or not, but I've heard a lot of nice comments on Mike's.
Yeah, he did a great job.
So, yeah, Mike knocked it out of the park. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. No, Rick is doing something at the workshop on Night Skies, right, Rick?
Yeah, Rick is.
I'm sorry, I had to unmute myself. It's going to be a focus on photopills, how to plan a shot in photopills, which is a night shot or moon shot. So if Mike wanted to do something like an intro to or whatever, they wouldn't compete with each other. So that'd be a good addition, I think.
Super. Well, maybe both of you can talk to Douglas and figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Announcements? No? Okay. Then now, Rachel, it's over.
Okay. All right. Time for the presentation tonight. And so for the new folks, welcome to you guys. And just so you know, the role of the VP is I also serve as the program chair. And so find speakers and develop the program, but it's with the help of everybody in the club. People pitch me names and then I contact those folks. So it's a group effort, but this role helps to identify who the speakers are going to be. So if you have somebody that you know of, please let me know. And it's particularly timely today because we've had a couple of changes in the program for the coming months. We're booked into 2021, but today our speaker for October had to withdraw. Board that just found out that this afternoon. So things are fluid, just like everything else in our world, right? With COVID, it keeps changing. So if you have somebody, I have a list of names, I'm going to reach out to some folks, but there's somebody you know of, please let me know. So tonight is a program called Series, and we've, again, for the newer folks, I think this is the third, fourth time the club has done it. And the idea is that club members submit a series of images, no more than 12 images with a title slide if they choose to do so. And there should be a theme to those images. And so what we're going to do is I have them all loaded on my computer, and then I'm going to run it, share my screen, and let people speak to their series and tell us the story behind their images. And so I assume when we're done, we're going to play this by ear time-wise, but we'll take a 10-minute intermission. Usually we do that at some point in the evening. And then if we do finish early, I don't know if Mark's up to it. What he did last year really, really well is he had some questions. So we had kind of camera talk, question answers, discussions about camera techniques and equipment. So I don't know if Mark's up for that given his current state, but if he is, that's awesome. And if not, you guys think about some questions you might want to ask this learned group of photographers. So
I'm good to go with her, Rachel.
Pardon?
I'm good to go.
You're good to go. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And also, I want to announce the winners of the votes, the voting results too.
Oh, okay. Okay, give me a couple more minutes and then we'll turn it back to you. Do you want to do that?
We can do that at intermission when we come back.
At intermission. Okay. All right. And there is no critique. Normally, again, for the newer folks, the first half is the presentation or the keynote presentation, intermission, and the second half is a critique of members' images. Tonight, there isn't a critique to give members time to showcase their images, but we're still doing the online voting for the images submitted this month. So after the website comes back up in a few days, please go in and vote for September's images. All right. Okay, I've got notes here. All right, so the idea for tonight is members had the opportunity to share a sequence of 12 images that create a visual poem or a story or follow a theme of their choosing. The idea is a feeling, a place, a person, a season, or even a thing. So some of them have added title slides, some of them have not. It's their choice. What I've done is loaded them into a PowerPoint, and I'm going to drive it from my computer by sharing my screen. And the images are in the order that I received them. Pardon? Is there a question? No? Okay. The images are in the order that I received them, and there are 21 sets of images. And again, it's kind of in a whatever order I got them in. So when you see your first image, we'll stop. And then Kathy will unmute you and you'll have a chance to tell the story. You'll have up to 5 minutes or so to tell the story behind your images and your sequence and their creation. And so, yeah, anything that we need to know to really appreciate your work. And it would be helpful to me because I'm driving back here, just say next or give me some clues so I can be coordinated with the presenter. That would be really helpful. Okay, all right. Are you ready to go? Okay, I will share my screen. So hang on here. All right, here we go. All right, slideshow. From the beginning. And I believe first up, this is Brian Dunbar.
Okay, hold on and let me unmute Brian. Really?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Good. Go for
I
it.
was hoping I wasn't going to be first because I've never seen one of these before. But
Hey, could we
this is-
move the image of the person speaking away from the photo itself, please?
On mine, it's two different monitors. So help me. You can see them both together.
Yeah, you are on the photo on my screen.
So Tom, you're gonna have to manage that on your computer because
Okay, I thought that was a regular thing. Okay, thank you.
So you can, Tom, you
Yep.
can go the upper right-hand corner, the little square. It says enter full screen, and you can make the screen less than full screen, and you can juggle them around.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, am I up?
Yep, Brian, you are up. And you just tell me when you want me to forward to the next slide
Okay,
or next image.
so I was on a beach a month or two ago. Had no idea that I could pull a series out of these shots, but see what you think. So this is the idea here is progression, life sequence. Next. Are you guys seeing the next one? I didn't see it change.
yeah.
I see two young boys.
Okay, I just got it.
Okay.
Next.
And Brian, tell us the theme again of this group of images.
I guess it would be life sequence, progression. You'll catch it here pretty quick.
Okay, all right.
Next. 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 That's actually not me. That's my twin brother, by the way.
Oh,
Next.
where were you, Brian?
This is Patrick's Point.
Help me
Hold on.
out. Where is that?
It's on the north coast of California.
Okay.
You'll be going there, Rachel.
Oh, cool. Beautiful.
So young, middle-aged, and on into the sunset.
Ah,
Thank you.
well, thank you. Thank you, Brian. Okay, next up is Kathy Triolo. See, you guys got your work in very timely.
So this is famous artists and what happens during COVID-19 in my particular case.
Okay.
So what I did was, this is a project I actually started about at the beginning of COVID. And I wanted to learn about famous artists and look at their work and see how it reflects on what I'm doing in compositing. So as you can see, this is a Van Gogh with a COVID molecule up there. So let's, I'm going to be showing you the original work and then my interpretation of it. So go ahead, Rachel. Okay, this is Salvador Dali, and this is one of his most famous works. You'll see that wherever you go. And he actually committed this or painted this in a fit of depression. So you can kind of get the feel from this. And my interpretation is next. And this is a friend of mine who sent me a picture of herself laying in bed and dared me to do something with it. And I thought, perfect for a Salvador Dali recreation. So everything in here is a photograph. And the back scene is Mono Lake. And also my sewing machine, because she's a quilter. And she was fishing for the moon, and none of it makes sense because why should it? So next. This is, okay, I should have taken my notes. This is, okay, what's her name? Somebody, oh, Frida Kahlo, thank you. This is Frida Kahlo, and she was a prolific painter of herself. She was her own subject. So if you look at all her pictures, they're all of her in different scenes. And in this case, she didn't have a crown of thorns. She had a necklace of thorns. So next. And this is my recreation of hers. And I didn't need a necklace of thorns. And all these, again, all these photos are pictures I've taken. The animals were taken at the San Francisco Zoo. The dragonflies were in the backyard. So there's that one. Next. This is Klimt, and he was known for fantastic designs and color, bright color. And this is one of his classic paintings. So I thought, well, what could be more perfect than to insert myself in it? So next. So I changed a few things. I did snap or snitch his dress, but the rest, all the backgrounds are things I put together and made. This is all composited and just mixed up. So that's my version of Klimt and the lady. So next. Monet and Monet's Water Garden. Yeah, Laura, everybody does get a lag. It's, you know, what's happening these days, just to answer Lori, so she knows. Anyway, Monet's Garden, he was an impressionist, and he liked to sit, and as he got older, he was infirm. So, and he built his garden just for his painting. So next. This is my version of a Monet. This is my backyard. The pond we have back here. And those flowers are rhododendrons that I sort of threw in there. So it's just another feeling I got of looking at Monet and doing an impressionistic photo. Next. This is, oh my gosh, I should have looked it up. Oh, Rousseau. It's a good thing they signed their paintings. This is Rousseau. I think this is called In the Garden. Not positive. Anyway, I just love the color and the cartoonishness of it and the childlike nature of his painting. So I thought this would be a perfect one to try and put together with some of my photographs. So next. So this is my version. The only thing I didn't take was I borrowed that model from somewhere else, since I don't seem to have any young nudes hanging around here. Maybe Douglas could help me next time. But this was, again, all my photos, pretty much, except for a few borrowed flowers. And this is what you can do with a photograph, and when you make it into sort of an artsy kind of scene. And I want you to know that I used Topaz impressions. to make it more art-like, to make it more painting-like. Okay, next. This is Andy Warhol, famous photos of Marilyn Monroe. I just thought this was so much fun. And so this was actually the first thing I think I did. And so you can go next. He liked just lots of different strange colors, and you should try it yourself. It's really fun to do this and to use a photograph of yourself. So this is Andy Warhol, and pretty self-explanatory. Okay, next. And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. And let me stop for a moment and say for folks, the idea behind this is please ask questions, you know, or in the chat. In fact, as I say that, I can't see the chat at the moment. Maybe
I can see it, but
have the artists answer questions if you have questions about their work. That's part of the learning and sharing with one another. You see how creative folks are. So if you have a question, please ask them, you know?
Right.
So let me stop for anybody have questions for Brian or Kathy before we go. Chris Schiller's up next, but before we go to Chris.
Okay, learn anything new and different by going through this exercise and following some of the masters?
I think I learned how to incorporate different techniques into some of the new compositing that I'm doing right now. Definitely that, you know, I seem to be there are people who are attracted to black and white, and there are people attracted to pastels, and I'm really, I found out, as you can see, that I'm really attracted to bright colors. So that was one thing I learned about myself by going through this.
And you're doing the compositing in Photoshop, or are you doing that in Topaz?
Well, both. I start out in Photoshop, bring in all my elements on layers, and I always do a merged photo and take it to Topaz. And depending on what I want to do, like the Rousseau, you know, I wanted that to be painterly, so I took it to Impressions, and I think I did Impressions, or I could have done acrylic on Topaz too. But I definitely use Topaz to add texture and depth.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Brian or Kathy? I can't see it. I'm counting on you, Kathy, to see him because my
no. Thank
you. Share screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
Shelby. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you. And so next up is Chris.
Thanks, Rachel. So I wanted to share a photographic experience that I had about, I think it was 8 years ago or so. And it was at Eureka Dunes, which is in the valley that's, it's 2 valleys north of Death Valley, approximately. So still similar to Death Valley. If you've been to the Death Valley Dunes, they're similar, but the Eureka Dunes are more remote. Next slide, please.
Saline Valley.
Saline Valley is the next valley north, and then the valley north of that is Eureka Valley. So on this particular morning, or the night before, it was windy. Obviously, a storm was coming through. I knew that rain was in the forecast and maybe snow in the higher mountains. But when I woke up, I was surprised to see snow all over the dunes. This particular photo is after some of the snow had melted, but it sort of gives the scene of the desert mountains all around with snow on them and the dunes in the foreground. And everything came together on this morning. It proved to me once again that to take good stuff, one of the most important things is just getting out there and being in places when things happen. So snow on the dunes, it's not that it never happens, but it's probably a once in every 10-year kind of experience. Let's move to the next slide, please. So everything came together on this morning. I love abstract photography. It's sort of my niche, and I also do not like repeating photographs that other people have taken. I'm always looking for a new view, and that's what the snow on the dunes gave me. And the light was perfect. The sky was sort of light clouds without being really overcast. So it was beautiful diffused light with the snow melting into the dunes. The wind had blown any tracks away. And I was the only person out there. I had nowhere to go. I had all day to photograph. Next slide, please. Waiting for the delay. So yeah, again, everything came together. The light, the interest. I had my big camera with me, so I could capture it in the fullest resolution possible. And I just remember walking around and 360 degrees, and then you walk 50 feet and there's new views in every direction of abstraction and views that I'd never seen before. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is one of my favorites.
Where was this, Mark?
No, it's Chris.
Oh, Chris, rather. I'm sorry.
These are all Eureka Dunes, or the dunes in Eureka Valley, but people call them Eureka Dunes. Next slide, please. So the snow lasted really only. I mean, as soon as the sun came up, it started melting on the sunlit faces. It lasted much longer in the shadows, of course. But in the course of probably 4 hours, all of the snow had gone.
Can I ask you a question, Chris? You drove in here or you hiked into here?
So you can drive up to the edge of the dunes. The dunes themselves are, I don't know, probably at least 25, if not 50 square miles, meaning let's call it 5 miles on a side. So let's call it 25 square miles.
Okay.
Of dunes, and they're quite tall. There's a little there's sort of a campground. It's sort of out large camping, but they've got some outhouses out there, or at least they used to. I haven't been out there in a while.
Okay.
Next slide, please. Yeah, I'm getting the long delay. Just love that corrugation.
Yeah.
Next slide, please.
Did you say next slide, Chris? Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Oh, did? Okay.
And even after the snow melted, just the moisture where the snow was gave the dunes more texture than you usually get with just open sand. Yeah, I was out all night raking the dunes. And next slide.
There's a little item up there. What is that?
Just a little tuft of vegetation.
Just a tuft of grass. Okay.
And next slide. Must be close to the end now. yeah. Maybe one more, or are we at the end?
Mhm.
Here we go.
Oh,
Love how the snow shows the cross bedding, kind of the same thing that you see in sandstone, but you don't notice as much without the snow on it. I think that might be it.
oh, one more.
Oh my God, that's gorgeous.
I'm sorry, what was the last question? Something about processing?
I think it was, did you do much post-processing?
No, I didn't need to do much. The light was except for these last couple where it was more shadows. The light was soft enough and didn't really need to do much.
So Chris, what time exactly the day was this?
This was over Christmas break, so I think this was between Christmas and New Year's.
No, the time of day.
Oh, well, it started right at dawn, and the last pictures were maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. Any more, Rachel?
No, next up is Bernadette, but before we go to her, any questions for Chris? So tell us again where these were. Eureka Valley?
Eureka Valley or Eureka Dunes.
Eureka Dunes.
Hi, Chris, I really love these. It occurs to me, if you've been to White Sands National Park in New Mexico, where snow is more likely to occur than here, you wouldn't get these sort of dramatic contrast effects. So having the non-white dunes actually really works well here, putting the snow on them.
Yeah, agreed.
What's causing the blue reflections, Chris?
It's just it's that in the shade the light is blue, and in the sun the color temperature is warm. So those aren't reflections. That's just deep shadow.
All right. Any other questions for Chris? All right. Fascinating. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
So real quickly, Bernadette, when you see that, the shadow area is only seeing blue sky and the dune area is seeing the sun itself. And that's why you get so much blue in the shadows.
Or reflection from the sky somewhat?
The sky is what's lighting that area of the photograph, and only the sky, no sun.
All right. Thanks, Douglas. All right. Next up is Bernadette, so she can share her images and her theme. So we'll turn it over to you, Bernadette.
Thank you. Tough act to follow here. Woo-hoo. Ed and I took a road trip a couple of years ago or so down through Zion and Bryce and Monument Canyon, and we ended up in Page near Lake Powell. And one of the recommended things to see are the slot canyons that are outside of town. So we drove out and it looked a little casual. This was the office. And so we went through, one afternoon, we went through an above ground vertical display that was kind of dark, no tripods allowed. So it was not too satisfactory. And somebody on the way out said, well, you need to go across the road and go down underground to the really, really fabulous display that's over there. So the next day we went across and there was a little office there, and we took, we had an Indian guide that led us out into this flat field, nothing in sight. And all of a sudden there's a hole in the ground and a sign, and down the ladder we went, and the world just opened up. It was an absolute fairy tale of color and pattern. just a terrific, kind of challenging way to get through. Some places were dark, so having a handheld camera, no tripods allowed, made it a little tricky, and a lot of photos were blurry. But what's here is what kind of ended up. So Rachel, just go ahead and go through them, you know, at your own time. I think the story will tell itself.
All right.
And this was the getting into it.
Okay. All right. Wow. You want me to keep going, Bernadette?
Yeah, just keep going. That's fine.
Okay. I'll make sure they load for everybody too.
For Chris with his abstract patterns on the dunes, I don't know, I'm sure most of you have probably been here,
No.
but it was incredible.
If I can ask, there's a famous slot canyon where you have to get drawn for the lottery to get in. Is this the same place or it just looks similar? Do you know which one I'm referring to? Or no?
I don't know underground, I don't know. This one, we just walked up to it and off we went. So I don't know. Probably some other photographers are more familiar than I am.
Rachel, I think you're talking about the wave.
It could be. I just know there's a place you have to stand in line and they draw you randomly for the day to go back in.
Yeah, that's the wave. It's
the wave. Okay.
It's not very far away from Page. It's probably only I don't know, 20 minutes, half an hour drive from Page.
Oh, okay.
I think the thing that was a little scary here was going underground. We actually went down a number of ladders and squeezed between spaces. There was a little sign outside that said there had been some European travelers that went down without a guide, and they were not supposed to because it was monsoon season and they all drowned, a whole bunch of them down there. So it was a little scary, but it was absolutely fabulous.
Oh my. Wow. That's just. Wow. Can everybody see these as I go through? I don't want to go too fast. Okay.
Yep.
Especially Chris. I know.
There's
Oh,
that blue.
and that's it.
I was going to say there's that blue light and warm light again.
Mm-hmm.
This one was on the way out. But it was, if you haven't been there, you just really need to. It's fabulous.
Wow.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Bernadette. Any questions for Bernadette?
I just want to thank Bernadette for including the people in the shots, because often you see these photos and you have no context of what it looks like with the people there. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I tried to take a couple of pictures of Ed, but they're all blurry. I don't know if that was him or me.
Okay. Okay. All right.
He was
Well,
trying
thank
to
you,
stay
Bernadette.
ahead of the water.
Did you use Flash?
I'm sorry. There was a question about Flash, someone asked?
Yeah. Did she use Flash?
No flash.
No Flash. Okay.
No flash and no tripods, which apparently there is an ability to make an appointment to go here. I've heard since then, and like a group can go and kind of have it to themselves with tripods and get some photos. But I'm sure lots of the club members have already been here and done this. It really is spectacular.
All right. All right. Thanks. All right. So as you saw, next up is Ed. So we'll turn it over to Ed. I don't see him on here, but I assume he is.
Bernadette, is Ed on here? You know what? I don't see him.
I have not seen him, but I thought maybe I just missed him. Was she
No,
gonna go get
he's
him?
not on here.
Okay. You're up.
Asking for you to talk to your pictures.
Okay, don't be picking on me now, okay?
Are you there?
I think so.
Yes, he's here.
He's here. All right, so Ed, you are up with your series.
Okay, can you hear me or you care?
I can hear you.
Okay. So we had the wonderful opportunity, at least the first year of this year, did a couple trips in before the world closed down. And the first one was in January to Costa Rica. And we went with one of our favorite photographers, Renee Doyle from Australia. And along with a gentleman named Jeff Moniz, who is the leading bird expert in Costa Rica. And there are over 850 species of birds there. Plus there's all kinds of other animals, creatures of all kinds. And so we spent there about 2 weeks and stayed in eco lodges along the way, which was an interesting experience. They're really trying to preserve the culture and the creatures that are there in Costa Rica. So we had a chance to photograph bats at night. We did flash photography with hummingbirds, and along the way picked up a few others of miscellaneous creatures that we bumped into. I apologize, there's no people pictures, but anyway, I think I tried to identify what you're going to see. So Rachel, if you just want to walk through them, that'd be fine. And so there you go.
Wow. Do you want me to continue to go through them, or do you want to talk about each one, Ed?
No, why don't you just go? I mean, this particular bird is kind of the icon of Costa Rica. The real effort most people have is try to catch one in flight, which we didn't, even though we got up at dawn a few times to try. But anyway, at least I got one shot that really shows some of the vivid colors of this bird.
Okay. Mm. Blue jeans, poison dog. Is he really poisonous? Is that?
Yes.
Yes.
There was all kinds of, these little frogs are about the size of your thumbnail, and they're just beautiful. And there was frogs of every color and description. So I just kind of like this one because it had blue jeans on.
So how do you get poisoned by them?
I didn't ask that question, David. I just stayed respectfully away from it.
And then what are you shooting with to get birds? I know can be challenging, Ed. So how are these taken?
Well, I have a Sony RX10, which has a 600 millimeter equivalent lens, and it's my go-to camera now. And I just love it because it's so varied. And I'm not changing lenses. I don't have to worry about that problem. And if I see something that's a long ways away, I can grab it on the run. And as you know, when you're trying to do wildlife, it's always a challenge.
Yeah. Oh.
That's the most deadly snake in the world, apparently. So I was also respectful of it.
Wow.
Were you on a guided walk, or did you find all these on your own?
No, the gentleman that we were with, he was phenomenal. I mean, he would see things that we wouldn't see, but we spent a lot of time in the rainforest, just walking around and appreciating the sounds and the sights of it and the colors. So a lot of it was fortuitous. This shot here with the print was done at night, obviously. they set up this particular flower, which was full of nectar for the bats. And we were on tripods. They had a flash set around the outside. And when we sensed there was something coming there, we would trigger the camera, which would then fire off all of the flash. And if you were lucky, you caught something. So
Wow.
this one, because it's obviously got its tongue in the nectar, and I caught its eye, which is kind of the goal you're after all the time.
Wow.
Ed, what's the focal length of your lens?
It's a 600 millimeter.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Mm.
Kind of liked it with the rain falling on it.
Mhm. Wow. Taking it.
We were shooting some birds that were lined up someplace, and one of the 4 or 5 people there sensed some movement, and we turned around and here's this sloth walking up the trees.
Okay, Ellen's up next, but before we go to her, thank you, Ed. Any questions for Ed?
Some great compositions in there, Ed.
Yeah, it's beautiful shots. Anybody, any questions? Okay, well, thank you, Ed. A tour of Costa Rica, that's as close as we're gonna get these days.
I have a quick one. Ed, were these taken with your RX-10?
Say again?
Were these taken with your RX-10?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We want to know about that hummingbird shot.
But then, as you know, I'm not a photo processing guy. So, I may do a little sharpening, but other than that, not much, because I don't know, I always just sort of like to see if I can't right the first time.
Okay. Whoever asked about the hummingbird, did you get your answer?
Was that all in the same shot, or was that more than one shot?
The hummingbirds?
Yeah, what about them?
Did I miss it?
Were they all in one shot, or?
This one.
No, they were all together. Yeah, and this same thing, we set up a branch like this, and these were obviously nectar in the flowers, and the birds all came around, and I just liked this because there were so many of them and they were glaring at each other.
Okay, well, thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right, so next up is Ellen. And just to give you a little bit of heads up, I should have done this in the beginning. After Ellen will be Jay Schuff. So so you guys know who's coming next. So I will turn it over to Ellen.
All right, so so at the beginning of the month, there was that huge smoke plume that came up from the Plumas fire, and so that's what these photographs are about. But I would, it's like I wish it was better circumstances, and I would have happily traded these photos not to have that fire. So, but when that plume began, I happened to be at work, and I work in downtown Grass Valley, and so what I do. Part of what I do at work is I manage the website. And so I always have my Nikon D750 with me. And I always have an assortment of lenses. So I have, and I rarely use my wide angle, but I had my wide angle lens in the bag with me. And so I probably, between various times between like 2:30 and 6:30, I took, when it would go out and take photographs of the sky, and I was just completely useless for the rest of the day at work. And actually, and Rachel was in the store at the when that first started, and so we were out wandering around and taking photos. And anyway, so these aren't in chronological order, they're more in order of kind of like where I was. Like first I was like down on the street, and then I kind of went back behind the building. It's what, and then we have a fire escape on top of the building. So I was able to actually get up and get unique views of Grass Valley. All right, so let's go ahead and go next. And this was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and all the street lights had turned on. So, and then the color shift in the building itself, it's normally kind of it's a lighter, whiter color, and this just has this, it looks much darker and grimmer. Go ahead, next. And then you can see the street light. Again, I think this was 3 or 4, might have been 3 or 4 in the afternoon, but anyway, see the street light. Next. And next. And so this is going down Bank Street, and then and just the light here was just it was so weird. And there was actually somebody was standing behind me when they were taking a photo similar, and they said where the blue sky was, that was 2019, and they said where the clouds are, that's 2020. So, humor where you can get it, right? So, okay, go ahead, next. And this is now behind the parking lot behind the building, and you actually access that via Bank Street. And next. And it's the fire escape on the building. You can't access it from the ground, so. Go ahead, next. Next. And this is I'm standing on top of on the fire escape, and then this is the building is like where the Masons, I believe, it's where Caroline's coffee is. So, and I just thought this looked like it was like a scene right out of Ghostbusters, and I just thought, you know, the Gozer is going to come down and descend, and we're going to get the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in any minute. So. Next. And this is, and I don't remember which time I took either of these, but next. And then this was actually, so I'm standing on the fire escape. In the lower right-hand corner, you can kind of see where the lattice work is on, that's been attached to the metal. But, and this is, and actually this is a 5-shot panoramic that I stitched together, and you can kind of tell that, so the fire escape, it looks like it's at a 90-degree angle to the building when it's actually, you know, parallel to the building. Next. And this is the ladder that goes up onto the roof. And I absolutely hate going up this thing. It just, I don't have it. I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of climbing things where I can fall and hurt or get killed. And so to unlock the, you have to unlock the grate. So I have to like climb up a couple of steps, unlock it, undo the gate, and I hope I don't whack myself in the head doing that. And then you have to climb up through it. And I don't know, and for me, it's like I started to climb up and I got almost halfway and I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this. And then I just said, forget it, I'm just gonna go. And I went, and I was shaking the whole time. But what I like about this image is it's like you're looking up, but it's also, without context, it could also look like you're looking down. So it's like I'm looking down into my fears as I go up the ladder. So next. And this is why I wanted to be on top of get on top of the roof or the building. And this is an extreme, this is again, obviously a pano. Yeah, there's 5 wide angle shots that I stitched together. And it's hard to see it. You can't really see it on this one, but in the high resolution. So if you, on the left-hand side where the Del Oro's spike is, there's a couple little teeny tiny white dots. It's actually a flock of birds. And there were just birds everywhere that day. It was just really interesting to see that, because I usually don't recall seeing that many flocks of birds. So, and I think that's the last one.
Yeah, next up is
that's
Jeff.
my story. So, yeah.
All right, questions for Ellen.
I just want to say, I was out and about that afternoon also, and you caught the sense of that light so well, because I've never seen anything like it either. The way things were cast from the angle of the sun, and then the contrast of the clouds, anywhere, any direction you looked for an hour, it was incredible.
And I'll echo that. It's as if the world was coming to an end. It was just bizarre. Yeah.
It was, yeah. I'd never seen anything like that in real life either. And it was just wild.
You did a good job.
Oh, thank you.
I took 2 time lapses of that day. It's pretty ominous.
Ooh, that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, one of them's up on my Instagram, and I haven't processed the other one yet, the Holy Grail one yet. So.
Oh, you should somehow share that with the club. That would be interesting to see. Okay, any other questions for Ellen?
So someone had asked about stitching the pan. Actually, I used Lightroom. And it did a pretty good job of it. I did have to go into Photoshop and like down around like the corners. I actually had to clone a couple of things just to out a couple they were just really distracting elements. I really wanted the curve of the street, like the line in the middle of the street. And I caught that, but I would have had to reconstruct it and it was just like, no, it was just way too much work. So I just cropped. And let's see, were they ravens? I don't think that they were. There were white birds, and I'm not sure what kind. It was too far. But, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Ellen. It's fascinating. Yeah, thank you very much. All right, so next up is Jay, and then following Jay will be Willie. So with Jay, I will turn it over to you.
Although those were stunning, Ellen, absolutely stunning shots. So Ladakh is a state in the northwestern part of India, between Tibet, China, and Pakistan. Pretty remote. It's mostly a Buddhist culture, very similar to Tibet. I imagine it's just like Tibet. I've never been in Tibet. But about 7 years ago, I took a volunteer job with Veterinarians Beyond Borders. And I told them I'd work there for 3 months. And I had planned to get used to the elevation, because you fly into the capital city, Leh, which is about 11,000 feet. And then you got 25,000 peaks everywhere around you. And most of the towns are around 13 to 15,000 feet, because that's where the agriculture is. I started working, this guy, project manager, let me use his motorcycle. And I got really lucky, because in 2 weeks after I started working, the program completely fell apart and everybody went back to Australia and New Zealand. And I said to the project manager, well, what am I going to do? I got 3 months to go. And he said, well, you can just have my motorcycle until you're done. So there I was with the Himalayas and a motorcycle. And so one of the main themes that I decided to do was go to as many Buddhist monasteries as I could find, They're all really remote. Most of them are very remote, extremely interesting, hundreds and hundreds of years old, great cultures. And that's what I did and photograph. And so this is my series of praying in Ladakh, probably about 1,000 photos reduced to 12.
Okay.
So, okay, now I can go to the next slide. So this is what you see everywhere. You see these limestone, adobe type stucco structures with prayer flags. You can't go anywhere in Ladakh without seeing prayer flags. They're just everywhere. So next slide. This is, I didn't put the slide in, I don't think, but this monastery is very, very high. At the very top of the monastery, there was these two monks with these beautiful ram horn. They would blow their ram horns, and all these monks, maybe 100 of them, would come out of these little cells, and they'd walk up. This is about 6 in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, and they'd walk up these stairs to go to their prayer room, which we'll see in a minute. Okay. So this is just going into the prayer room.
There you go.
Okay, next slide. You'll see just about, this is a very traditional, some of these monasteries have extremely large rooms that'll fit hundreds of people. A lot of people have their private prayer rooms on their property, and they'll be very small, just room enough for like 3 people to be in there. But they have bowls with candles, and it's just amazing eye candy everywhere you look. Okay, next slide. This is probably about 6:30 in the morning, and the sounds that you hear in here are incredible. There's people blowing trumpet type instruments, they're banging drums, they're chanting, and this young boy, he was sitting next to another boy, and he was just waiting for his turn. Then he gets up and he has to give yak milk, distributes yak milk to everyone. And he probably did that about 6 or 7 times at certain times of the ceremony. The interesting thing was being in this room and watching all this is I didn't really see a lot of difference between what was happening in that room and what I would see in an Orthodox synagogue or a Catholic ceremony or any religious ceremony I've ever been to. It's like the human condition. It struck me as how similar everything was. So next slide. And there's carrying yak milk. And these were taken with really high exposures. It was very dim in there, or high ISO.
Ooh.
Next slide. This was probably the most difficult photograph I've ever taken ever. I was given the opportunity to photograph him. He was the head Lama of the most famous monastery in Ladakh, and they told me I had 3 minutes. And I had absolutely no way to prepare at all. So I went in there, I sat him down. I had a remote flash with a friend of mine was holding to the side so I could get some side lighting. And it wasn't working. I was like just drenched with sweat, worrying about I'm gonna lose this opportunity. And finally I decided to open up the window in back of him so I can get the Himalayas in the background without having the reflection. And it worked. If I had my druthers, I think I'd remove the salt shaker, but I was happy to get that. Next slide. You'll see these men everywhere on the streets and villages, all the towns, walking around, swinging these prayer wheels. And then and kneading these beads in their hands. Okay, next slide. And this you'll see a lot. There's prayer wheels everywhere. Some are extremely large, some much bigger than that. And a lot of them are very, very small. Okay, next slide. And this was another remote monastery that I went to, very, very windy. I wanted to capture the wind blowing these flags, and I was glad to get that shot like that. Next slide. This is a really remote monastery. That's why these are so beautiful. Just the road, the trip to ride a motorcycle to a place like that. And then to be able to spend time to go in there and walk around the rooms. This was a really remote northern Ladakhi monastery. But they were just so fascinating. I just love the architecture, everything about it. Ladakhi people are just so friendly and nice and accepting. And what most people have no idea is Ladakh is a playground of Europe. They probably get 50,000 tourists from Europe, Australia, and New Zealand from June to September. And there's trekking outfits in the capital city. You can raft, you can do trekking into villages in the mountains, you know, all over, which I had no idea of. And then the place shuts down in September when the snows start. Next slide.
What's the elevation here, Jay?
Well, the lowest elevation is 11,000 feet. Most of the people don't really live above 15,000 feet because you can't grow anything. And I'd say most of the people live between 11,000 and 13,000 feet, and they live where the glaciers melt so they can use that for irrigation. The yak herders in the summer will go up to 17, 18, 19,000 feet valleys that are really, really lush. I was able to ride my motorcycle over what they said was the highest motorable road in the world, which was 18,300. And that was amazing. One thing I should note that people have no idea of, and I had no idea either, but when you think about it, what does a country like India do to claim their territory? And, you know, it's near Kashmir, and there's lots of border disputes between China, Pakistan, and India. So what India has done is they have built roads to the most remote areas in the country. Of course, no one uses the roads. The villagers have been living there for centuries. They have no need to use those roads. They're all self-sustainable. But the roads are wide enough for a military truck, which is like a car and a half. And these roads are just like your driveway. So they're the most amazing motorcycle roads I've ever been on. No potholes, just perfect roads, 25,000 foot peaks all around you. And any place that on your map that has a little red dot, there'll be guest houses with people that speak English, that give you rice and curry. Very inexpensive once you get there. This shot, this is the last shot, was a dream come true for me because I had wanted to get a shot like this. And but it was cloudy skies the entire 3 months I was there. I knew exactly where I would go the moment the skies would open up to this monastery to get that shot. But because a lot of monasteries have lights and which ruin them, your Milky Way shots. But my last week, the skies opened up and I went straight right there, and I couldn't believe how easy it was. A lot of the Milky Way shots are composites, but this was just a 25-second exposure at probably 6,000 ISO at f2.8. And all I needed was just a couple of shots, and there it was. And that's, I think this is the last one.
Yeah. All right. Wow. All right. Questions for Jay? I have to put this on my travel list, I think. Yeah.
There's questions on the chat, Rachel.
Oh, I can't see the chat. Would you mind reading those, please?
Yeah. Let's see. What language is spoken in Ladakh?
Ladakh.
Ladakh.
Yeah, they speak Ladakhi,
Ladakh?
which is, and they speak Hindi, and they speak English. English is everywhere. Anyone that goes, and all over India, and even in Ladakh, anyone that goes to public school, they all, the people that go to public schools don't learn much English. But anyone that goes to private school, they all learn English, and they learn English so well, their English is better than our English because they speak a British English. And it's not like their second language. It's their first language, just like Ladakhi would be or Hindi would be, which was a real revelation. That's one of the things the British gave India was English. And then they ruined everything else.
Oh, Ellen Davis wants to know, how long did it take you to acclimate to the elevation? And
probably 3 months, 3 weeks, sorry. 3 weeks, so I wouldn't be out of breath and have a headache and feel, just tired. But I never acclimatized to the point where I could go hiking above 17,000 feet. I met a lot of, met a lot of friends in the job I had those first 2 weeks, and I visited their families. That was one of the other things I did. I'd visit their families where they lived in different areas of Ladakh. And, and they would try and take me hiking to places that were around 17,000 feet. And I never acclimatized to that. I could just take 3 steps, pause, get my heart back to normal, take 3 more steps, this is elevation. And then finally I'd say, this view right here is good enough.
Did the motorcycle perform any differently?
The motorcycle was fantastic. It was a Royal Enfield motorcycle. I only had 3 difficult times with it, which are long stories. Electrical, the wiring in there was like a spider web, and great stories. If anybody wants to pin me down, I could tell you great stories about. Actually, the problems I had with the motorcycle opened up adventures that were the icing on the cake, because you meet people that help you out, and then all of a sudden, you have a whole new adventure. So it was great.
So the riddle is, why do the British drink warm beer?
Why?
Because they all have Lucas refrigerators.
They have what?
Lucas refrigerators. Lucas Electrics are famous, although Royal Enfield probably has their own, but British Electrics are famous for failing.
So where you say warm beer because the refrigerators don't work very well?
No, if you know British vehicles, a lot of the electrics are Lucas.
Oh, I see.
And so the riddle is, why do the British drink warm beer? Because they have Lucas refrigerators.
Right, got it. Yeah, battery operated.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jay. That was fascinating. Fascinating.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so I'm going to do a little time check. So I'm like, this is so fascinating listening to everybody, and everybody's so creative. We're a little behind schedule, I notice. So next up is going to be Willie, and then me, and then Ingrid, who's number 10 of 21. So we'll be halfway done after Ingrid. So you get a sense of kind of where we are for the night. And then we'll take a break after Ingrid. So I'll turn it over next to Willie. Let me go over here. And I can now, Kathy, I can now see the chat. I had to load the screen up, but I can now see that.
Okay, great. And Willie's unmuted, so he's good to go.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. This series was taken at Bodega Bay which I realize has been my favorite place to photograph wildlife for the last 10 years. It is really easily accessible. There's a beautiful campground on this long spit. On one side is the bay and the other side is the ocean. And migratory birds move through there from August to November. And every time you go, you'll see a different set of birds. They love to feed in the flats at Bodega Bay because this water behind you is at high tide, but this whole flat become exposed for almost half a mile across the bay and the width of the bay also. So it's a great feeding area for migratory birds, especially wading birds. And you can get tremendous opportunities for birds up close because the high tide, as you'll see, pushes all the birds right up on the shore. And you get great opportunities for flight shots, various species and everything else. But this particular group of pictures is one of the highlights of all my 10 years of visiting Bodega Bay. And it turns out that I found out that this particular bobcat had a nickname. The locals told me after I showed them my photos, he's named Bodega Bob. So he was out looking for a meal. Next slide, please. Can you see where the bobcat is? Lower left corner. You could see his ears pretty easily, they're white. But he had snuck into this position, and then you can see 3 different species of birds that got pushed up to the tide. The biggest challenge to this group of pictures was that I didn't have my tripod with me. I had my 500mm lens. Fortunately, I had a railing to rest on, and I had to be positioned because I knew at any time he was going to move. He didn't move for half an hour. My arms were almost numb. I had to rest once in a while, fearing that I was going to miss the shot, of course. Next slide, please. So he finally decided to move and try and catch a meal. Next shot. The thing that really was remarkable to me after I looked at my pictures afterwards was the makeup of the bobcat, his musculature, how he moved in his attack mode, and of course, how the birds responded. Next. This you can see after he was all up in a bunch, and then he uses all that energy to leap, and you can see how long he is when he does this. And the birds, I was surprised, were fairly slow to react. I thought he was going to be on them in no time, but it turned out otherwise. Next slide. You see basically here 2 species. There's marbled godwits, the brown ones, and the black and white ones are willets. And they associate all the time in migration together. And you can see up to 500 to 1,000 of these at any time in the bay.
Wow.
Next.
Oh.
Next. Next.
Ooh.
He wasn't successful. I missed the shot where he leapt into the water because I was shooting at 12 frames a second, but he was moving so fast. He was in the water before I knew it. So here he is blaming me for his failure. He's looking right at me, and it just was a remarkable sweet sequence that I was very fortunate to get some decent shots and experience it. And I think that's the last one.
Yep. All right, thank you, Willie.
So
Wow.
Willie, you shot that with the 500 f4?
Yes, I did with a Canon. I forget the body name. It's a crop body, so I was essentially shooting at 800mm. And so I was so thrilled that I actually got him framed in the picture because I was only about 60 yards away. And to be able to move along and get him framed in a picture, I can only attribute to all my practice of shooting birds in flight.
Yeah. Yeah. Lovely. And I'm checking the chat here. Yeah, Ann says, very nice, Willie.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Willie? Okay, then I'm up next, followed by Ingrid, and then we'll take a break. So I took a little, I don't know, not different, but I needed some humor in my life. And so I titled mine, If the Hat Fits, Wear It. And so what I was trying to do is I have a closet full of equipment and some studio equipment that I never use, and particularly like off-camera flash, I'm not that good at. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to practice off-camera flash and to do something a little bit fun. And we have a new dog. Some of you have heard this, Jenny, our new golden retriever, who's a breeder for canine companions for service dogs. So she will be having service dog puppies in the spring. So she's very easy to take pictures of. So I thought I would combine all of those things. And my goal was to take pictures of her. Have you seen the dogs catching treats photos? Have any of you seen those? If you haven't seen those, go on the web and just type in dogs catching treats. There's a photographer who does these hysterical images of dogs, and you throw the food at them and they open their mouth and you catch the kibble all over their face, and they make these, I think, very funny expressions on their face. So that's what I was going to do. Didn't work at all. Jenny was confused by the whole throwing of the treats thing. My lighting was awful. So that was day one. So day two, I changed the whole thing and said, I can't throw the treats. I've got to come up with something else. So we have a collection of hats. Every time we go to a new country, we buy hats, and we have lots of hats here that come out for parties and that kind of thing. So I thought, all right, we'll combine Jenny and the hats. And I did a series of Jenny modeling hats from around the world. And she was such a good sport. We did this over several days, so I didn't stress her out, and had to change the lighting several times to learn how to finally get the off-camera lighting exposure where I wanted it. So this is Jenny in Myanmar. Here she is with a hat from Ecuador. Being very elegant. If you can't see, there's a top hat in the lower left-hand corner from England. And here we are in Peru. That's what the ladies wear on the streets of Peru. Here we are in Belize. She got her dreadlocks. She was so patient. This is Iceland. This is a puffin hat. It's hard to tell from the side, but that's a puffin. Here we are in Thailand. If you've been to Thailand, they sell these hats along the streets in the vendors. Venice in Italy, captain's hat. Bless her heart. She got lots of treats in between these, I will say. And this is a beer mug with the foam on the top. It's Germany, Oktoberfest, which was canceled this year for the first time since World War II. In Jordan, we had tea with the Bedouins in Jordan in one of the tents, and they gave us this head wrapping as part of the tea ceremony or tea service. And that is it. So that is my series of hats from around the world.
That was great. Great. Did you see, can you see the chat? There's some questions.
No, I did it. I'm talking. Go, Jenny. Yes. Isn't she a good, she's such a good girl. She really did, David. She really held that still. Yes, she didn't move. She was great.
I think
very
she
easy to.
She has a future, Rachel.
Huh?
She has a future.
I know. She just wouldn't catch the treat. She would just sit very still and wouldn't catch the treat. So I'm going to come back to that at some point because the pictures are really good. So anyway, that's my sweet girl and model for this series. So
good job.
That's Jenny. All right, so next up is Ingrid, and then we'll take a short break. So Ingrid, I will turn it over to you.
Oh, wait, she might, let me unmute her.
Good question. Very good practice. Yes, it was.
Ingrid.
Is Ingrid unmuted?
Well, I'm trying.
There she is. Hey, Ingrid.
Okay. I can't see myself, but I assume I'm here.
I can see you.
We can hear you.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know how I follow Ginny. That's anyway, what I've done here, my husband and I and my children and my daughter's husband and his parents went to Alaska in August on a charter. So it wasn't a cruise, it was just a ship we chartered from Juneau. And so what I've done here in this series is pictures related to the Dawes Glacier, which was up a tributary of the inland passage called the Endicott Arm. And it was amazing to me how prolific the glacier was in outputting icebergs. So that's what my series is here. So next. This is a picture of the glacier from quite a ways away. It was very hard to get. They really couldn't get too close up because there was too many floating ice that would damage the boat. So this was just a distance shot. And so next. And what was interesting to me is how blue the ice was. And it's really, the glacier ice is quite blue. And these are not enhanced. I thought about enhancing them more, but decided not to. So anyway, this is just the bay leaving the glacier area. Next. And this again is another shot from quite a ways away, looking back towards it. Next. The water was blue as well. It was kind of interesting. It's almost Caribbean looking. A lot of floating ice quite a ways away from the glacier. But it was gorgeous. Next. What was interesting to me is that there was quite a bit of animal life using the glacier as habitat, and seals in particular were very prolific in that area. Next. And they also birds used the glacier as, or glacier ice as place to land. It was amazingly beautiful. And the water was blue, was very beautiful. Next. We had a lot of eagles. Never got a picture of a flying eagle. They seem to be very, what's the word? They watched a lot. And so this was an eagle using one of the icebergs as his roost. Next. We also found that not only did the animals use glaciers as habitat, but the glaciers became animals as time went on. I thought this was a floating swan sculpture. Next. And they were just, it was just gorgeous. This is just this particular iceberg was quite a ways away from the glacier, maybe a mile, 2-3 miles. Next. It was also beautiful, the textures. Next. And again, this was really far away. As you can see, they've pretty much melted down to nothing, but the reflections with the coast were gorgeous. Next. This is my last one, but this is a lone iceberg quite a ways away from the glacier.
Wow. Beautiful, Ingrid. Thank you. So questions for Ingrid? Anybody? Okay. All right. So next up, we're going to take a break. It's 7:45. I want to say about 5 minutes. Can folks do that? We're running a little bit behind schedule. We still have 11 people to go. I want to give everybody time to share their series. So we'll start in about 5 minutes. Everybody stretch their legs, get something to drink. And then when we come back, it will be Tom Quinn and then Henry Goodman.
And before we start,
yes,
Tom, I'll announce the winners of the voting.
Okay, when we come back?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
All
All
right.
right, everybody.
Okay. You can unmute yourselves if you want and chat. You know, this is a free 5 minutes if you want. In fact, I will Hey, Ingrid.
Yeah.
When are you guys coming back home?
Middle October.
So a couple more weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks, 2 weeks maybe, just, yeah. That's the plan.
All right, good. So,
Getting cold.
I'm sorry, what?
Getting cold here.
I'll bet. That one picture of the lone iceberg with the black background,
Yeah.
it looked like you were in a cave when you took that. How did you get it like that?
The way I do that is, it was dark behind it. It was like trees, like a, up against a forest kind of thing. So I just, what I do is I select the iceberg and then just do levels and with the black. I select the background and just use the levels.
It's a really cool effect.
Yeah, that was spectacular. That was amazing.
Yeah, it was, when I saw that, I was like running up and down the side trying to get, it's great.
And where are you now, Ingrid?
I'm in Michigan.
Okay.
My husband and I have a second home in Michigan, and we usually come in the spring and the fall. But this year we came in the spring and then decided that we would just stay for the summer and not come back to California during the higher spike in numbers, because here there's hardly any COVID at all. So
Are the trees turning? I'm guessing the trees are turning up there.
turning, it's not quite peak yet, but it's pretty beautiful. Yeah. But it's raining also.
Oh.
It's not raining here. Yeah.
Well, at least you got clear skies and no smoke.
Just, well, clouds, yes.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, is Jim Bear, are you on? I can't see.
I think he left.
I was going to move him up. He had a time issue.
Hold on, let me look and see if I can find him. Oh, wait, he's here. I just think he's not in the picture.
Okay, if he comes back, I'm going to ask if folks would mind if he went ahead. I mean, I've got to do some stuff on my end though.
Right.
Because he couldn't stay the whole
Oh,
time.
okay. Yeah, it looks like he's just taking a break.
Taking a break, okay.
Because I'm looking, he's still on the list, but I just don't see him.
Yeah, I don't either.
Anywhere. That's weird. Be nice if when you click on the name, if you transfers to the face, that would be helpful.
Yeah, if it would highlight it, especially
Yeah.
in a large group, that would be wonderful.
I have a question. Has anybody in the group here been to Ibex Dunes or Shiprock?
Where is that?
Yeah, I haven't even heard of it.
Ibex Dunes is a dunes in Mojave. And Shiprock is in New Mexico. It's
Shiprock. Where in New
Shiprock.
Mexico is it?
It's near Farmington.
Okay, we were up there a couple of years ago. We went to Chaco Canyon and
Can I share my screen?
yeah. Here, let
Hang
me,
on.
yeah, go right ahead. You should have permission.
All right, hang on. Let's see. Yeah, hang on. Let's see. Can you see?
You have to get,
Come on.
oh,
Um, are you seeing my screen?
yeah, we're seeing all your travel there.
All right, here is,
Here's Jim Bear, Jim.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I don't have that one. That's not.
this
the-
is Shiprock. This is, can you see it?
Yeah, beautiful.
That's cool.
This is Shiprock.
Yeah, I've
and
been
then-
there.
You've been there, Peter?
Yeah.
What do you think of that? I was thinking of trying to go there.
Yeah, there's a lot of wonderful stuff in that area. It's all, photographs like that are all dependent on the weather.
Yeah. But I mean, this is just, yeah, if you get the right weather and everything. And I don't know if there was a lot in this area. I've never been to the area.
Well, if you go to New Mexico, you should plan to go down to White Sands too. It would be a shame to miss it.
And then here is the other ibex. Here's, no, that's not what I was looking for. That's an ibex. Let's see. No. Okay. Here. This is
Oh, Ibex Sand Dunes. Oh,
yeah.
beautiful.
Oh, beautiful.
I don't know if anybody's been there. I'm looking at going there.
I'm not sure if Ibex is the one. Let me think about it.
It's not far from
there's-
Death Valley.
Yeah, I know. It's South Death Valley, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's one dunes area there, which is an off vehicle area. So I don't remember whether it's Ibex or not. Is the one that's the off vehicle?
No, this one is not
Basically
an
have dune buggies all over it.
No, this one does not have dune buggies.
Okay.
It's like this supposedly.
Right.
About a mile and a half walk from the road.
So if we,
Yeah,
I'm
in
sorry, I'm
fact-
just watching the clock here, guys.
Ready to start, Rachel?
I am, and now I see Jim Bear is on, so.
He's back.
I see, Jim, do you want me to move you up? I apologize, folks. Jim has a time constraint and he ended up being number 19 out of 21. And so is asking, for example, well, Tom, Quinn, would you mind if we just went to Jim and then let Jim go and then we'll go to you? Would that be okay?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. No, can't do it.
That's a joke.
Okay.
It's so hard to see smiley faces on Zoom.
All right, so I'll let Kathy do the winners and I'll queue up Jim Bear and we'll do Jim and then come back to Tom and go on down the list.
All right, then let me share my screen. And can everybody see that?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So you voted for Best Assigned Joy and Love by John Sievert. Congratulations, John. Gorgeous shot. Best Abstract. I don't know how to say this, Chalcedony or Abstract by Jonathan Beth.
Chalcedony.
Thank you, Chalcedony. I don't often have it in my vocabulary. All right, best architecture, Spanish Ruin, Craig Rorson. Best fauna, What Do You Think of Me Now by Janice Rossner. Best flora, Naked Lady by Mike Shea. Best natural landscape, Sunrise on the Palau Wheat Fields by Georges Pelpel. August 2020, Best Night Photography, Lightning Strikes at Pigeon Point by David Wong. I feel like we should have like a drum roll or something for this one. Best People, The Eyes Are a Window to the Soul by Jonathan Beth. Best Photojournalism, Lightning Storm at Pigeon Point, David Wong. Best Travel, S-Curve, Changsha, China, Janice Rossner. Creative, Warrior and Spirit Animal by Kathy Triolo, modeled by Ellen Davis. Best Black and White, Sailing, Washington, Ray Lurkey. Best Color, Supermoon Show by Mark Triolo. Congratulations to all the winners from last month. Yay. It's back to you, Rachel.
All right. So thanks, everybody. So if you just joined us, we're going to move Jim Bear. It has a time constraint, so we're going to go to him next and then come back to Tom Quinn. So with that, here he is. Can you see? You guys see? Is it
yes.
Ocean? Okay. So with that, I will turn it over to Jim Bear.
Well, I have to start by saying I'm absolutely in awe at some of the fantastic photos we've seen tonight. It's a very humbling experience, but what I'm about to share is a kind of a surprise. It was different than going out and trying to get the best photo. It was sort of an engagement of nature that I discovered while looking for the photo. And this is a search down on Deer Creek, just downstream from Nevada City, some of the most beautiful rock formations and waterfalls and so forth. But I wasn't finding anything, and I was wandering around with my tripod, trying different shots. And I saw this particular shot between the rocks, and I thought, well, I just like the action of the water. I love the motion and the power of it. And so next.
I think so. Come on. There it is.
So I started thinking, what do I see here? And what could convey the feeling? And of course, using a much longer exposure helped an awful lot. And I saw the massiveness of the rock kind of fighting back against the water. It seemed to be very, very dynamic. Next. And each shot was, in the sense of the water, was like a totally different photograph, framed by the same rock, but the water was intriguing in the different shapes it took. Next. You can see just remarkable, unpredictable shapes and forms in that water. Next. And I thought, maybe there is a shot here. So I was thinking, well, could I do this in abstract? I'm always struck by Ingrid Lockhart's contributions on Facebook, to the abstract thing, and I think, well, this is getting pretty abstract, but I don't know. I'm just staying with the feeling of the power of the water and the resistance of the rock. Next. Then I moved, and I'll never forget, David Wong once, several years ago, looking at a photograph, is if you would have just moved over a few inches, or whatever, it would have been so much better. So I repositioned, and I really was quite happy with this. It just seemed to be more than just water and rocks. Somehow it spoke to me. And then I went one step further and did some post-processing and came up with that. And so that's my Crashing Water series, and Deer Creek, and I hope you like it.
Well, thank you, Jim. And my chat has once again disappeared. So Kathy, do you have your chat?
Yes, and what I've got is, oh wait, hold on, let me figure out who's doing this right now. John Sievert said, very nice. Oh, it's me.
Oh, I love that. Making the ordinary the extraordinary. There you go.
There you go, you saw it.
All right. Thank you, Jim. And now you,
Thanks for pushing me forward. Appreciate it.
no problem. All right, so give me just a moment and I'm gonna pop back to Tom Quinn. So up we go. See all these beautiful photos. There's Ingrid. There's Tom Quinn. And with that, I turn it back to Tom. You're up. Oh, can you all see that?
Not yet.
It says sharing screen is, can you see
Oh,
it?
it says Rachel Rosenthal has started sharing. We're
Cool.
good.
All right, can you see Tom's entry slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so Tom, it's all yours.
Okay, hi. This monthly session is always a tough one for me to decide what to do. Usually I go for something a little more nature-like and colorful, but perhaps given some of what we've been dealing with at a family level, I thought a little black and white series called Walking Away maybe was fitting. And I won't be speaking a lot through here, so I'll just say next. This is my son Michael actually walking up and over a dune at Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado. Next.
Okay. Well, you're saying next and I am pressing next. Ah, hang on, there it goes.
No, I'm good.
Can you see the boardwalk?
There we go.
Okay.
This one I think I entitled something like No Longer Summer. And these are all a little bit on the moody side. And just the idea of people walking away from you has a certain mood to it as well. And I think it captured it pretty well in this.
What
Next.
was the one with the buildings before that, Rachel?
Did I skip
I
one?
think that's
No.
coming up.
Oh.
I don't know the order. You either skipped one or you jumped back. I'm not sure, Rachel.
This is the second one. So the first one was
Okay.
your entry and then this is the boardwalk, I think. That's what I have.
Okay.
Go
Got it.
forward. This
Yep.
one? Okay.
Next. I find in some of these medieval cities in Europe that they seem, whoop, you jumped ahead, Rachel.
No, well, mine has not moved. Interesting. Okay, so here's the buildings. Do you see the buildings?
No, you went to the staircase.
I think it's the lag, Rachel. Hang on right there.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
stop,
stop this.
Rachel, you're on the buildings.
I'm on the build. I see the buildings.
I see the stairway.
You do?
Yeah.
I see the buildings. So those of you who are seeing the stairway, you're getting lag right now.
Yeah. it's
Oh,
I see the buildings now.
so let me wait. Tom, what do you see? Being that you're the
I
person.
now see the buildings with two folks strolling down a medieval street in Barcelona.
There you go.
All right, so now we're synced. So what would you like me to do?
Go forward one, thank you.
Okay.
Nothing yet.
Okay.
Hang
I
on.
blame Jim Bear for jumping in.
Yeah, sorry.
This one I call Where's the Escalator?
Mm. Would you
Next.
like- Okay. Oh, interesting.
Anybody see anything? I do not.
Yes, it's a old,
Huh.
looks like old Barcelona and some.
Okay, this is the only one in this series that actually some of you have seen before. Soon after I became a member a couple of years ago, I submitted this. And personally, I didn't think it got the love it deserved. But so here you got it again. And this is an Orthodox priest walking down a street at night in Girona, Spain.
I love it.
Next.
Wow.
This is one I debated whether it really met the theme because the rest of them are all literally someone walking away from the photographer. This one a little bit less so, but I've never submitted it in the club and I just like the photo, so it fit well enough here. That was a serendipitous thing where I was taking a picture of the geology and this gentleman just came walking along that ridge line. Next.
Wow.
This is kind of moody. And if you know the history of this particular location, more the more so, this is at Fort Pulaski in Civil War prison fort outside Savannah, Georgia. And it got kind of a feeling of ghosts in that place. And that's my wife, Sue, walking away in that one. Next.
Mm.
I like dune shots and the footprints sometimes are add to the natural scene to some degree. So I've always liked this one. Next. This is called Medieval Foix. And I don't know if any of you ever been to the small village of Foix in southern France, but that's where this is taken. And this woman was going to work, and I just happened to be walking up behind her and caught her on our way to her shift up in the medieval fortress in Foix.
Tom, was that your son in the last one of the dunes?
No, that was actually my wife.
Oh,
Sue.
okay.
Next. This is also in Girona, which is a very cool city north of Barcelona. If you guys ever get over to that part of the world, a lot of folks seem to bypass Girona. They're in Barcelona. They blow on by on the big interstate type highway, but definitely a city worth stopping at. And that's the cathedral, which is actually a massive cathedral, one of the largest around. Next. And this I debated with because it's a very beautiful photograph in color with those flowers and geraniums and whatnot in the windowsills. But I thought it fit the series pretty well. I would have liked to ask that woman to move a little bit to her right, but I didn't want to catch up to her, and I don't think she spoke English. This is in one of the small white villages of Andalusia in southern Spain called Zahara de la Serrera. Next. And this is not staged in any way. I've been accused of that. I don't know who that woman is. I just happened to turn that way, and this particular location was strangely empty, and there she was walking straight up the middle of the staircase there. This is in Central Park in New York. Next. And people aren't the only ones who walk away from you sometimes. So I thought I'd end on a little bit of a lighter note here, and my dog Bodie walking away over the dunes looking towards the mountains. And that's the end.
All right. Thank you, Tom. And once again, any questions? This is my chat. I don't know where it goes. It's traveling here somewhere on my screens, but
just comments, lots of them. Everyone loves it. Amazing. Love the black and white. Love the white light on their shoulders. Great leading lines. Very soothing mood photos.
Aw. Okay.
All
Well,
right,
thank you,
all.
Tom.
Thank you.
All right, so next up is Henry, followed by Mike Shea, to give you a heads up. And did I tell you? So this should be Henry's first image, if I have that right.
Yes.
Okay. I think it'll probably be obvious that I love being in beautiful places. And I went to high school and college in New England. So for the last few years, I've tried to get back there in the fall. And this was last fall at a place called Ricker Pond in northern Vermont. And a lot of my photos will be at sunrise or sunset. But sometimes this is sort of mid to late morning. The fog was rising from the lake. So sometimes it isn't sunrise or sunset. Next. Okay, this was in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, and it was almost dark. So this was a 30-second exposure. And the trees on the right may seem a little soft, and that's probably because they were moving a little bit over that 30 seconds. But the colors are fantastic. Next. Okay, coming back to Nevada City, I was just exploring the river over the winter time, and I went to a place called Bedrock. And actually, I shot some photos a couple of weeks before this when the water was a turquoise, but then it rained a bunch, and the water turned to more of an emerald green. And one advantage is the water was higher, and it kind of covered a rock that was in there that was really an ugly rock. So that was an advantage of this place, and the patterns and the textures of the water I loved. Next.
Oh, nice.
My mom lives down in La Jolla, so we go to visit, well, we have been going to visit her for a long time. Not this spring, unfortunately, but there are some reefs in La Jolla, and I would go there before sunrise and just watch what was happening, and I love the way the water would come down over the rocks and drop down, making little waterfalls. And this, at the same time, the waves were crashing and water was coming up on the rocks and slowly working its way back. Next. Interesting, we got a little bit of the sunset above this one. Okay, there we go. Okay, this is back in Nevada County, and this is near Purdon Crossing. And actually this year, because we had a spell where it was really dry, you could drive on the road to Purdon Crossing without getting stuck. So for a few weeks, I would go just kind of go and walk along the river and hang out and I love the flow of the water. Next. Okay, now this was at Edwards Crossing from the bridge there. And again, just the pattern of the river and the waves that are created by the water. Next. I guess another thing I wanted to say about that is that the color of the water is different at Edwards Crossing than it is at Bridgeport or at the 49 Bridge, and maybe it's because of the cliffs, but the color of the water changes. Again, we had a really dry, I think, February and March, and I was kind of excited to get to the river when the flowers were blooming, and this was early flower blooms, and there's a one spot you'll see that I like where you get a sense of the sweep of the river, and I love the color of the river and the way the light was hitting the hills and little wisps of sunset. Next. Okay, this was fairly close to where the last one was taken, but it was looking east rather than west. And there was just happened to be a spectacular sunset that night. Another thing that happened this spring, and I don't know if other people noticed it, but at Bridgeport, there is somewhere there must have been some kind of leak in a mine or something, and the water got this muddy color for a few weeks, and the color of the water wasn't very very pretty. Oh, John's, yes. And then it was like that for maybe 3-4 weeks, and then it ended. And again, a lot of my photographs are at sunrise or sunset, but I was heading out to the river at Bridgeport, and some of you guys may remember this place when you walk over a bridge on the part of the trail that's for the handicap. And there are some beautiful redbud trees, and I've always kind of looked at those trees and wanted to photograph them, but never felt like I could capture what I saw there. But this time, for the first time, I felt like I could capture how beautiful they were. with the poppies in front of them. Next. Actually, we were saying that the other thing about that, and you kind of see that in this photograph also, was that in the early spring, the new leaves are coming on the oaks, and they have this very brilliant green color. You see that in this photograph too. And then earlier, the poppies were really happening, and the lupin were just beginning. And one of the things I love about this photograph is just how the color of the sky reflects on the water. The blues and whites and grays reflect on the water. Next. Just a little later in the season, the lupin became more dominant. And actually it was getting a little bit drier. The grass and so on was getting a little drier. Next.
That's the last one.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. Any questions for Henry? Thank you, Henry. Anybody? All right. Thanks, Henry.
You're welcome.
All right. Next up is Mike Shea, followed by Jeff Alstatter. So Mike, I turn it over to you.
All right. Let me
Nice work, Henry.
There you go.
Oh, sir.
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I started going to Candlestick Park back in the 1960s. I saw the Beatles there in 1966 when they played their last concert there, and kind of kept going until the park closed in 2013. So this was a shot from like 1970s, and just based on the score and the home run, I was able to determine what game I took this picture at. So, and you'll get the significance of Bye Bye Baby in a few more slides. So next. So the stadium was built as a condition for the New York Giants moving to San Francisco. And when they originally built the stadium, it wasn't completely encircled. There was an open area where you could see the bay. But as I said, the stadium was built for the Giants. Next.
Wow.
In 1970, the 49ers moved in and shared the stadium, and the stadium was completely encircled. And, you know, it's like Candlestick had a bad reputation. People said it was dark, it was dank, it was cold. But when you had to walk through some tunnels to get to see the field, and you came out of this dark tunnel and you could see the field. I mean, it was just an experience that, you know, it's not, you do not get at the two stadiums that replaced Candlestick. So this is kind of more of what the complete park looked like. Next. So this is some memorabilia from Candlestick, and couple points about this. I mean, like, look at the ticket prices on the left-hand side. So I've got a lower reserve seat in row 11 for $6.25. I mean, you go to the new Giants Stadium, and that ain't going to happen. You can't even pay that little bit of money for a beer. And the other thing about these tickets is nowadays it's all electronic on your cell phone, which really annoys me. I mean, I really like having the paper tickets, and so I'm sorry to see them go. And those pins at the bottom were given, if for a couple of years they gave out pins. If you stayed to an extra inning night game, you got one of these pins when you left the stadium. And these things actually go for pretty good money on eBay nowadays. Next. So now these are some shots of what's happened since Candlestick was there. Originally, there was a bridge. On the photo on the left, you can see this pedestrian bridge that crossed one of the streets so that you could get to the stadium. And on the right-hand picture, you can see that the bridge is gone. You know, the stadium is gone and the bridge is gone. Next. Same with the street leading into the park. So it used to be, you know, on game day, it was full of park. The parking lot was full. The stadium, the picture on the right there's a line of cars there, and that was taken this year. And what those line of cars, there's a lot of like homeless people that own vehicles that are living right along that outer edge of the road there. So it's, you can see it's kind of dilapidated. There's a lot of garbage around there and stuff. So it's really kind of a sad situation. Next. And when you came to the stadium, if you came in on the south side, you were greeted by the statue of St. Francis. So you kind of see, get an idea of what the whole stadium looked like from the outside. Next. Now, as the stadium was being demolished, they decided to go ahead and remove that statue. So they've removed it and it's now in storage. They've not found a home for it. I don't even know who owns it anymore, but it's just in storage. Next. There was also this cool escalator from the north side of the stadium. You could take this escalator and get to the upper level. So it was really kind of a fun experience to take that escalator. Next. And this shows as the stadium is being demolished, you know, what's left of the escalator. And there's the pedestrian bridge that you can see there. That's no longer there. Next.
Wow.
And this was taken from inside of the stadium. So this is the parking lot looking out towards the bay. So, I mean, it's just a mass of cars and people having a good time, tailgating and whatnot. Next.
Hang on. There you go.
And this is, you can see the outline of where the stadium used to be, and behind it, where the, you know, the kind of the parking lot that the previous picture showed. And then next. And this is what it looks like today. So this was taken a few weeks or a month or two ago, and the plans are to build, you know, housing and businesses and performing arts centers, and you know, they've got a lot of plans, parks, and you know, they're going to use this space to do all kinds of stuff there. And I have to say, the weather there, Candlestick had a reputation for having really bad weather, but they can also have really nice weather out there by the bay. And that is it.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. And again, sorry, Kathy, I need your help. So any questions?
Jonathan asked, why was it demolished?
It was one of the older, well, at the point that it was demolished, the Giants moved out in 2000 when I guess originally it was called Pac-Bell Stadium, was built in downtown San Francisco. And Candlestick was one of the oldest so at that point it was just a football stadium. And it was one of the oldest football stadiums in the United States. And by today's standards, it was very lacking. And the 49ers wanted a new stadium, and San Francisco couldn't decide to build one. So Santa Clara kind of stepped forward and built Levi's Stadium down there, and Candlestick was demolished. So basically it was just outdated.
You'd never have as good a tailgating experience at Levi as you used to have at Candlestick.
Right on, David. Yep.
I agree.
Without a doubt. Yeah, at Levi's, you've got a very limited tailgating place. And yeah, we had some great tailgating at Candlestick.
But Willie Mays would have hit a lot more home runs if he didn't play in Candlestick.
That's right.
It's true.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike.
All right.
Okay, so next up is Jeff, followed by Janice.
All righty, let me make sure that.
So Jeff, it's up to you. Kathy.
All right, he's unmuted, so we're good.
All right, Jeff, all yours.
I've been working on this building project for the last 3 years, and I've been photographing it as I go along. So I guess this would be the category of everyday photography. And I tried to take this shed as it was built over a 3-week period, the end of each day. But I only did 8 for this.
Okay.
Because some days it was only worked on for 3 hours because of the heat. It's poetic in a certain sense of creating something out of nothing. Next. And the first one is the very basic laying it down. And this is as the framing is going up. Next. I took them all from the same spot, or as close as I could get to the same spot, and I took them handheld. And here the walls are going up. Next. And here the roof is starting to come on. Next. And I couldn't photograph the roof from the ground where I was, so I photographed this from inside my house with a telephoto, probably 300 millimeter, and it was all handheld, so I managed to get it without too much shake. Next. And this has the roof on. You can see that the window is in. He hasn't put the shelving in yet, but I've already put wood into it, half a cord. Next. And this is the builder working on some of the different parts. It wasn't a tough shed, it's much better. Next. And this is everything, shelving. The only thing it needs now is paint. Next. And this is it with the paint. Everything is done. And Jonathan Beth did the painting. Thanks, Jonathan. And I'm done.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
Sure.
Any questions for Jeff? Observations, questions?
I don't see any on the chat.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Jeff. And next up is Janice, followed by Mike. So Janice, you're up.
Unmute yourself if you can. Let me just make sure.
Yep, there she is.
Okay, I'm here.
Good.
I'm unmuted.
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, so this is a series that tells a short story. I took this last spring when I was in Africa, and we came upon these lions. We were out in the Serengeti, and there was a large lion outcropping. And we drove around to check because the big cats like to hang out in these rock outcroppings. And sure enough, on top of this one that we came on, there were 2 male lions and a female, and they were just laying there. But you know, we thought with the 2 males and the 1 female that there might be some action. So we parked a distance away and just watched. And the male lions got down and walked around the outcroppings, and then sure enough, the female lion stayed up on top of the lion, up on top of the rocks, and then sure enough, this happened. So next slide. Next. Okay, so here's one of the male lions approaching the female. And so I prepared some information about pride behavior and the male-female relationships in the prides. Oh, I'm still back on the other one. That's way advanced.
I'm on the wrong one.
What do you see?
Yeah.
I see him biting her, and I was still on the first one.
With the two of them looking at each other? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. That's my fault then.
So, male lions reach breeding age around 26 months. But they're not likely to breed until they're 4 or 5 years old because of, usually due to the lack of opportunity. In a pride, there will be several males, and they have to compete for the female or the females. Either the male or the female can initiate the behavior, well, you can go on to the next slide. So this is what's happening here. She's allowing him to approach her. So you can go on to the next slide. So males will follow the female around closely, and the male and females can mate up to 100 times a day with an average interval of 17 minutes. So we were there for about 45 minutes, and we saw one mating sequence and then one fight between the two males. So you go on to the next one. And this is typical behavior. The males will typically bite the back of the female's head, but she wasn't blood, it didn't hurt her. It looks pretty bad, but her head was okay. You can go on to the next one.
Ooh.
You go on to the next one. You can go on to the next one.
Wow.
Yeah. So what's happening here is male cats have spines on their penises that cause trauma to the females when they withdraw. And the biological purpose for that is it stimulates ovulation. But of course she gets pissed off. And so it was, it was exciting watching this because there was a lot of growling back and forth. And, I thought, gosh, maybe they're going to be, in a real fight, but they didn't. And then this is them afterwards. And then the typical behavior is between their periods of intercourse, they may walk around or lie down next to each other. Now, what's happening here is that other male was approaching, and so there was an altercation between these two. Then started to walk away, and the other male was watching. And I thought that they were just going to walk away and everybody was just going to separate and be fine. But they didn't. This male then ran back and ran after the other male. But it wasn't. The fight was not like to the death. there was some blows and a lot of growling, and then these two just walked off together, and the other male was left there. Probably they're all part of the same pride. And then what happens is when this male is done, the other probably smaller and younger male can come in if she'll have him. Okay, you can go on to the next slide. It's not moving.
It's a title page.
Like a summary.
Yeah, so this is just a little information about lions that I wanted to share, because a part of the wildlife photography that I do is for conservation purposes. So I just wanted to say that lions have disappeared from 94% of their historic ranges. And there's half as many lions today as there were 25 years ago. Threats to the lions include ranchers who kill them because they believe that they're, a threat to their livestock. Poachers who sell their bones and body parts for cultural use, and of course then the human encroachment on territory. There is some trophy hunting of lions, which is controversial. Managed hunting does contribute money to conservation, but there are some discrepancies in terms of the differences between the amount of money that they contribute and the loss of lions. And so then I have down here some wildlife foundations that I have checked out and are working to protect wildlife, which is at a particular danger now since COVID, because tourism was way down. I'm supposed to be in Kenya right now, and that trip was canceled. And with the loss of tourism comes Tanzania at 17.5 of GDP. And so with the loss of tourism, the national parks are having difficulties paying their rangers, and the communities around, of course, people have lost jobs. And so poaching has increased just for survival purposes. So some of the national parks in Africa are in pretty desperate states. So that's my series.
All right. Thank you, Janice. Fascinating. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
No. And for time, I'm going to move on. If you don't mind, if you have a question for Janice, please ask her after the meeting, because I would like to move on to Mike, followed by Jerry, try to get us out of here, but I still want to see everybody's images. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's move to Mike.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can.
All right. Well, great, thanks. So a little bit less active sequence for me coming up. So I had the opportunity. I know many of you've had this opportunity to take your families on that last big trip of your kids are all together in one place, and we went on a trip to Europe in 2015, and my daughter, just before my daughter went off to college. And so she was my photo buddy some of you have met her, but she was my photo buddy. And every morning we were in Florence for 3 days and 2 nights. and she's going to be an architecture student, or she's an architect now. I'm sorry, she was going to be an architecture student. And we became enthralled with all the architecture of Florence. Certainly, there's so many things to look at. And I especially became enthralled with all of the doors and all of the various knockers that, so I guess there's a little bit of a sex theme there. I could have called this Knockers of Florence, and maybe would have been right in line with what. So go ahead to the next slide, please. So you know, there's architecture is just fantastic. And the other part of this exercise was really in post-processing, just trying to capture the character of each of these entryways into the doors. And so really we're just going to take a look at some of the different doors that we captured. Here's one of the simplest ones, and go ahead to the next one. And you can see you know, the doors were certainly old. The architecture's old in Florence, centuries old. I loved in this one, you know, just the ornate hinges and entry work, ironwork on this one, and just the portico here are surrounding this door. And just the, you know, I did this originally in black and white, but while that was nice, and you saw one of my other big pictures, one of the monthly submissions a few months back, in black and white, but the color here's, you know, I just try to capture the ambience of the color that gives character to each one of these. Go ahead to the next one. And here's another example of the type of work on these doors. And who knows, these doors could be hundreds of years old in many cases. And so this ironwork and this work on the doors, you know, could go back centuries. And if you're not aware, what's behind this really isn't a person's, you know, indoor house, but an entryway to a garden or a courtyard behind many of these before you would walk into the entry of the actual house. So this is what separates, you know, with a 20-foot wall, and then into a, you know, an inner courtyard before you got into the house. Go ahead to the next one. Here's another example with all the great work and nails on the door. Just imagine how much time and energy it took to build a door like this. Certainly worth proudly displaying. Go ahead on to the next one. And so, you know, the other thing that you know, I found interesting about these pictures when we got back, and I literally took, you know, hundreds of these pictures of doors and close-ups of all the knockers, but, you know, all of the accessories that go around the door. So beyond just the door and that's the centerpiece of this image, you've got all the little bits and pieces and things that surround the door and transition between buildings. So I found that all just fascinating. Go ahead to the next one. This one was to the back door of a church, and you can see that, you know, it's got one of the saints up above it over the porticos. But again, you just imagine how many people have walked through a door like this over the centuries, and you know, have graced this entryway. Go ahead to the next one. And it was more than just, you know, simple entry doors. This is a garage door that we found. And I also just love the, you know, the brickwork and the stucco work, which is very intentional. I'm sure there's artisans that you know, are paid now to make it look old. But this is an example of, you know, just the rest of the work around the various portals, you know, into people's buildings. Go ahead to the next one. That's continued on this one as well, where you see the brickwork and the stucco work around the door. And I love here, you know, just, you know, how the weathered look of the door and the, you know, the texture of all the bricks around the door. Go ahead to the next one. This, you know, pretty classic example here, faux brick, probably concrete stucco work around this. But again, I tried to capture, you know, the colors here, the warm colors here with the coldness on the bottom. And all these were done. Every morning we got up, we had our coffee and our biscotti, and then we'd hit the streets for, you know, the golden hour right around sunrise and sometimes around sunset in those evenings, just to try and get as many doors captured as we could. Go ahead to the next one. Here's an old one. It looks like it hasn't been given much love, but I just love the portal above this and everything that you see, the various entry buttons and just the weathered look around the bottom here of the street grime, and how this door seems like it's been here forever. I'd love to see what's behind this door. Go ahead to the next one. This one is quite elegant, again in the style of all of the nails and the scroll work on this one. And that brings us to our last one, which was right next to a store, but this has got the menu on the side there for the store next to it. So that doesn't belong with the door, it belongs to the store to the left, but I love the red color and the contrast with the lightness of this door, and it's just fascinating, the wood with all of the brick and the metalwork. So that's the end of my presentation here of the Doors of Florence.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Those are beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. I feel like I'm traveling around the world. This feels pretty good. I haven't gotten to go anywhere, as you know.
There you go.
So
you can start booking your trip in a year or
exactly.
6 months, right?
Stab for my travel.
There you go.
So
all right.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right, and we're going to keep moving here. Sorry, folks. I'll speed it up here a little bit. So next up is Jerry, followed by Jonathan. So next up is Jerry. Let's see, where is? Jerry, can you hear me? Oh, Jerry, can you unmute yourself? I can't hear you. Down in the lower left-hand corner.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Okay. Well, we've traveled all the way around the world, and if you've traveled much, you have a dirty car. So this series I put together was about taking photos in 2 local car washes. And while I'm going through, these are the ones where they pull you through on a, like a carriage, and they have lights and they have the soap and the water, and but being a photographer, I couldn't resist the opportunity to take my cell phone anyway and take some pictures as I was going through the car wash. And what I did is I wanted to use the combination of the lighting and the water and the soap and make a series of abstracts. And I deliberately took out a lot of the things that might even remind you that you're in a car wash, because I wanted these to be abstract. And I also thought they would look great if they were really, really large, but I know we can't do that. Anyway, so this is my series. And like I said, I did quite a bit of processing on them to get the colors and the patterns and stuff. So, okay, I don't have more to say. I'll just say next when we.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You want me to just keep going? Is that what you would like?
Yeah, next.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Next. All right. Next.
Wow. Oh.
A lot of soap and water here. All right. Next. Next.
Oh, like that one.
Okay. Next. I just like all the distortion from the water and the lights and stuff. Okay, next. And next. Okay, and that's the end. So like I said, either any one of these would be nice by itself, and the whole series, like I said, it's just the local car wash. So hope you enjoyed it.
Beautiful, Jerry.
Thank you.
Very creative.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very.
I'll pay more attention the next time I go through Quick Quack. Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah. Make sure you check the chat, Jerry. Everybody's loving it.
Oh, okay. I can't see the chat.
You'll have to pull it up.
No, okay.
And mine's gone into hiding again. So, all right. So thank you, Jerry. And next up is Jonathan, followed by Anne. And this is Jonathan.
Okay, this is my yoga teacher. Every Saturday, we take this Zoom yoga class with our neighbor. He's our neighbor. And this movement that he is doing, I mean, that we are doing, is a special kind of yoga, advanced yoga. And he calls it Anvaya. And it signifies the perpetual movement and energy of heavenly bodies, as above and within ourselves as below. That's his description to this method. And it's got to do with the flow and the releasing of the joints, flow in the joints. And it's like a dance. But when I did it like 2 weeks ago, I said, oh, this is so beautiful. I have to take pictures of him and try to capture this movement in my series. So anyway, so this is what came up. I try to, okay, maybe we should see some and then I'll talk more.
Okay.
Next.
Beautiful.
So tell me when, Jonathan.
Next.
Okay.
Okay, next. 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 He's from China, and the movement are very, his movement are very elegant and smooth. I try to do some of the pictures focused and some blurry. Yes. He's from Taiwan, sorry, my wife says he's from Taiwan. And so I tried also, another aim I had is to do everything in Lightroom, not to get out of Lightroom, and to create a sense of the drama also, not just right. And so the black and white, I tried flash, the flash didn't work, but anyway, please, next. Next. And next. 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 Next.
Ah, and that's Jim. So that's your last one.
That was my last one. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. Interesting. Okay, and again, folks, I'm sorry. If you have questions for these folks, please stay after, and I'm sure they will be happy to answer them. And please watch the chat, Jonathan, for you too.
Right. There are a lot of nice comments.
Good.
Thank you.
So Jonathan, so next up is Anne, followed by our last presentation by John Siebert. So Anne, this is Jim Bear, who we skipped ahead. Let me scoot through his, and this should be Anne, if I've got it right.
That's me.
Okay.
As you all probably knew from watching the winter last winter, we didn't get very much rain. And so I was getting more and more nervous about what our fire season would be. So wanted to plan an escape where there would be lots of moisture and not a lot of fire. So I had planned to go to the coast of Oregon for 3 weeks in September. And wouldn't you know it, when we got there, it was the same time, probably when Ellen took her photos. This was the 8th of September. And this is in Newport on the coast. And this is what we are greeted with for the Great Escape. And I took most of these, or a lot of these photos with my cell phone. And so they've had no manipulation in terms of color. The only thing I did was to crop it. So this is the real color. Next. This was about 5:30 at night, just as we were sitting down for dinner, and everybody was outside just in awe, wondering if this was the apocalypse and where we should go, what we should do. The smoke was very, very heavy, and it was like looking through red jello. It was the most incredible atmospheric conditions I've ever experienced. Next. And this was at the beach the following morning. It was like looking through orangeade. Again, very incredible color. It was something I'd never experienced before. Next. Oh, this is interesting. It doesn't show as orange as it did on my screen. This actually looked very peach colored on my screen previously. This is the bridge coming across from Newport. Next. And the poor birds, they were sitting on all the rocks trying to preen out the ash from their feathers. Lots of pelicans. They just all looked like they were in distress. These are cormorants. Next. But the kids were out there loving it. Here's a guy with his remote controlled car, creating his own dust and having a grand time, smoke not seeming to bother him. Next. But the lighting was very unique. It really created these unreal looking shots. To me, this looks more like a drawing than a photograph, but that's what it looked like. No post-processing at all in this one. In fact, I didn't even straighten the line of the jetty in the background. So next. And again, kids and people were out exploring in the fog, in the smoke. And again, this one looked much tawnier on my screen, much more sepia colored with the smoke mixed in with the fog. People exploring tide pools. Next. And even after several days where we thought most of the smoke had dissipated, all of my photos had this yellowy, ochre look to them. The blues were totally washed out. They weren't in existence. Everything was just sort of green and amber. Next. But lastly, of course, 2 days before we left, the smoke went away. The sun came out. Of course, there had been a little bit of rain. The rain washed all the smoke away. And we did get what I thought I was going to have 3 weeks worth of the Great Escape pictures. And we got a day and a half worth, but at least we got a day and a half. And it showed me that even though it wasn't a great escape, probably trying to escape fire season anywhere on the West Coast is not going to be an option from now on out. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Anne. Wow. Beautiful though. Sadly beautiful, I would say. All right, thank you, Anne. And so we move to our last series of this evening with Mr. Seaver.
All right. Can y'all hear me?
That's fine.
Good. Okay. So what do you know? I've got a series of the apocalyptic cloud of Tuesday, September 8th, 2020. This shot, I was standing right next to Kathy Triolo, and Mark was on the other side of the road. This was right as we started taking pictures. So I've got 6 hours of wonderful, unfortunately, I hate to say that word wonderful, but awesome, creative, crazy shots, right? Just pray for those people that are having a hard time. Next. So you can see the plume of smoke coming from there. So that was at 3:11. This shot, I'm going to take you through 6 hours. 3:33, I went back to work, and there I am at my work on Maltman Drive. Next, looking at the cloud just hanging over the building. And then I went out to the street of Maltman Drive, and just that color of that thickness, it looked like you could almost touch it. As we all saw it and we all looked at it, Ellen's pictures, amazing, of downtown Grass Valley. I was trying to decide whether to go to Grass Valley or go back down next to the end of my street, which is the end of Maltman Drive, I mean, the end of Morgan Ranch Drive. And now this is at 6:10 p.m. and you can see the flames from that spot on Success Mine Loop at the end of Morgan Ranch Drive. We've got views of everything, watching the Jones Bar fire, and then now this one, the North Complex fire. Next. So now this next shot is at 6:35 p.m. Next, and you can still see that plume coming out of right at the North Complex fire that just went crazy. Now I'm looking directly westward from the North Plume. Next. And then getting a little look at the trail that kind of takes, and the wooden fence along the trail. And it's interesting, just a little bit of sharpness and changing the exposure, and the colors just popped. Next. And then this is now 7:31. It's getting later, and you can see the little trail sitting right there, and just that thickness of the cloud. Next. And we're running into evening time now. And I went home, and that's my friend Lindy and Greg's house right there. Sent them that picture. They appreciated it. Yeah, sadly gorgeous is right, Janice. It just was like, so crazy. Next. And now we're at night. It has gone dark. And now the fire, you could see, is just getting closer and getting bigger. And now switching lenses to my Sony 24mm f1.4 to get some star action. And so this was just kind of quite spectacular. Next. And then a little bit more stars with the smoke, the stars, the trees. And there was my 6 hours. And then we woke up the next morning. I ran out to the end next of the street to have a look, and still the cloud, but it was moving away. And that's my series of 12 of the North Complex smoke cloud.
Wow.
Wow, is
Yeah.
right.
Wow. Yeah. So sad, but fantastic for photographers, unfortunately.
I know, just like,
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God, it was just great photo ops, but just, let's just,
At what a cost, right?
I know, ouch, yeah,
Well, thank you, John.
that was fun, yeah.
Fabulous. And thank you, everybody. I feel like I got out a little bit tonight, at least. A little bit around the world, a little bit locally, and really impressed with everybody's creativity for sure. So, and the talent in this club just never fails to amaze me. So thank you all for participating in this and being willing to put your work out there. It was really wonderful to enjoy all the series. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Kathy.
Love the diversity, and it's just inspiring to see what everybody else gets and picks out and is affected by. Thank you all for hanging in there and participating. We still have 41 people left. Woohoo! So have a great evening, and we will see you next month for somebody we don't know yet.
Right. Working on it. I'm working on it.
Don't forget to come out for Open Studios on the weekend of the 10th and 11th, please.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Bye.
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 See ya.
And you'll be sending us a link for the
As
thing on
soon
the
as I stop this recording, you bet.